Pitching the homeowner one leg appointment or always wait for a reset for two legs?
Not if you're a pussy, like, sorry.
What's the shelf life, per se, of a door knocker?
More than a car, less than a house.
What's your take on tattoos?
Most people when they're interviewing, listen up, this is a good nugget.
Is it why you teach door knocking now and don't door knock?
I can't teach you to sell more.
It's a door-to-door expert.
I know.
Sam, door knocking sucks. Change my mind.
It's a great question. I'm never gonna change your mind. I still think it sucks. Yeah, so I was like, dang.
It's a door-to-door expert.
I know, it sucks. And you know, I don't ever want to sugarcoat door to door. I think that's where too many people try to glamorize it. Too many people try to be like, oh, well, obviously if you get really good, it still sucks, even if you're good. Nobody wakes up in the morning and is like, you know, let's go hit the doors and get our face kicked in all day. But I'll tell you what, I can prove and over and over again a system how door to door, if you can get your team of ninjas going out consistently, making more contacts, you can do and run circles around people waiting for their phone to ring. And I will prove that over and over again. Does it take away the suck? Does it take away the grind? Does it take away the rejection? Does it take away the uncertainty? No. But I tell you what, when your paychecks are 10 times bigger than if you didn't do it, that's when you're like, okay, maybe this doesn't suck as bad.
Is that why you teach door knocking now and don't door knock, or do you still door knock?
I still door knock.
You still door knock?
I was out there last week. So I go next week, Chicago, the following week, Denver. No, I'm definitely like, one of our mottos here at D2D Experts is like, we're never too good to get in the trenches. Like, we don't just teach the work, we're like, do the work with you.
Because this looks like a call center. It does not look like, I did not expect this. I met you, what, 3 years ago, you just wrote your book, or you're just getting started. Now you have, how many employees do you have here?
There's about 30 overall.
30. Like I said, it looks like a call center. How many of them door knock?
About 4. So 4 of them actually door knock.
What the rest of them do?
So I have a recruiting department.
Okay.
I have a marketing team, a finance team. I have
Is it for the clients or for yourself?
Both.
Like,
so we do a lot of like recruiting for companies, and we find people, place them. We do a lot of the media and training platforms for companies. So like, we have 2 guys over there that'll travel to companies, film, edit, create their own online training platforms.
Okay.
And then they manage their whole online training. We have consultants that go out and train and consult, and those guys knock. We have a lot of marketing people. You know, we put out a lot of content. We have events. So like this week, we have 100 and something people coming into Utah to go to an event that we're putting on for recruiting. We do, once a month, we do a boot camp, or 2 weeks ago we had, 50, 60 people at our boot camp. So like, it's a lot of moving parts. We do, sure. And we get in the trenches heavy with companies. So when we consult a company now, we have a team of about 6 people that works with them. So we have an editor, we have a designer, we have a coordinator that manages all their to-dos. We have an expert, we have a bomb squad team that goes out and knocks with them. Like, there's like a whole setup that like says deploy, and we get cool results.
Answer this: if door knocking sucks, why do you love it so much? Is it love-hate relationship? Evil you must have? Like, what is it? Like, hard work in general. I love hard work. I mean, it's, people say we don't like to work hard, but we do. I mean, it makes you a better person. There's a reward there. I mean, there's a reward in sales, but do you like the process? How can you work just for the reward? How can you learn how to enjoy the process, I guess?
Yeah, so I think that there's an element of hunter mentality, carnivore mentality when it comes to door to door. And I think that, if you were to say, Sam, just sit behind a desk all day, like, I get antsy. Like, I like variety. I think some people like to mix it up. I think some people like the uncertainty of like the hunt. And I think that going to prehistoric caveman days, you're just like, that's what we are born to do. And I think that you bring an element of fun and competitiveness and a bigger reward, you know, because your cost of acquisition on a door knock is a lot less, you can get in this habit of liking the doors in a lot of ways. I mean, I'll still drive around neighborhoods today and be like, this is prime. I need to get out. Like, and you know what I mean? But it's not like every day I wish that to do that. And obviously I've spent years, I've knocked doors since I was 11 years old. I mean, that's all I've done. I've never had a W-2 job. I've never done anything else. And, you know, I look back and, you know, like take Graham, for example, he's got this Leaders in the Streets for kids. And it's like the lives it changes and the communication skills that are developed, the relentlessness that you develop, like dealing with rejection, like the skill sets learned through doors, I think can't be taught in a classroom, by books, through an online course. It builds the character that I think creates phenomenal entrepreneurs and leaders in today's marketplace.
My son is 11 now, and he is he never sold anything. Like, I never teach him anything. I talk business all the time with my son. I explain to him why I travel. I explain to him how a roofing business runs and everything. And then the guy is so street smart, it's insane. He has a sign on his door, like I have 5 kids, so he's second, and he does massages for the sister. And he created a sign, 5 cents massage, no adults allowed, and he has open and close. And he does this sale, so he will make machines like he goes on YouTube, creates machines like slot machines. And you literally put like coins in, and it spits out candies. So he made those. And recently he did a popsicle. So he ordered on Amazon little bags. He bought candies. Out of candies, he made juice. He pours the juice inside his popsicles, and he put it in the freezer. And then he comes to me and said, "Dad, I raised $15 today." I'm like, "How did you do it?" He's like, "This neighbor had a garage sale." So I went there to the neighbor, and I stood there in front of the garage sale, and he sold 75 cents a piece, and he sold $15. And I'm like, where does he, like, who taught you to do this? Like, I didn't, you know, but it
sounds like a mini me, dude. Like, that was me when I was 11 years old. Like, legitimately going
Entrepreneur 101, just create opportunity. He would go and buy little rocks, like bag of rocks, because he liked one rock. He wanted like blue rock or blue ball, whatever. Comes home and sells individual pieces to his sisters because they're so beautiful, and raise more money on individual retail than the entire bag. So he got what he wanted and get all his money back and then some profit. I'm like, dude.
Okay, but you say something that's very important that I think as we grow older, as we become entrepreneurs, we forget.
True.
Does that make sense?
Yes.
And I think that so many people forget that simple root of, hey, I find an opportunity, I get a big bag of rocks at wholesale, and I'm going to go individually sell them at retail, but I got to go knock the sister and tell this and talk to this person and go to the lemonade stand, go to the garage sale, sit there in front of them and say, "Guys, I got these popsicles." Like, too many people are sitting behind a desk and saying, "Hey, I'm going to create some magic like formula thing and hope that my phone rings." And they waste so much time spinning circles instead of just going to the neighbor, setting up in front of the freaking garage sale and saying, "Do you guys want a roof? Or do you guys want a whatever?" And it's like we forget that simple fundamental of you talk to people, you give them value, you close them. And the more you do that, the more people buy.
You know what's the coolest thing? That out of all my kids, this kid is the most generous kid. Like, the way he thinks, he is not attached to money at all. He literally, he's the biggest giver. He gives everyone. He offers money. He'll be like, I remember one time he asked me something. He wanted something in the store, and you know, he doesn't have a car. Obviously, he's like, "Dad, can I pay you to take me to the store? I want to buy a gift to like someone's birthday was coming up." And when I heard it, like, it's insane. And he is the kid who will give the most to the church, like literally $100 for the charity for missionary trip. And I feel like it's abundance. When you can give and you know how to make, where his sisters are spenders. They literally will come to us like, Daddy, I need $1. Why? Nick has a sale. Sale is going on right now. I'm like, what? He opened the store. It's like a big deal in my family. Nick opens the store for like 1 hour and he just sells stuff like toys, like wherever he made. Like, I'm like, what? And they have to have it.
That is awesome. 1 hour sale. He's building urgency.
It's insane. Like what that guy does. Like, man, it's they already like I actually pay them for the last couple of years if they make video for my roofing business. We're running ads on YouTube and Facebook right now for Storm Group, and they scripted a video, him and his sister, about the roofing job. They explain cleanup process, everything, and I paid them like $50. Said you're gonna promote my company, and I'll pay you $50 per each video, which is like memorize the script, everything. It takes a couple hours of time. I don't want to shorten my kid, but they've been doing YouTube videos for years. As a matter of fact, when I started a YouTube channel 3 years ago, I was so shy of my accent and how I did not speak English at 21. So I learned everything how I talk in 15 years, and I never went to school. So I was shy, I wasn't comfortable. The very first YouTube video I ever made, I took my 7-year-old oldest daughter, and it was how to pick roofing shingle colors. So we memorized the script with her, and it was fun, cute video. But the reason I did that, because my daughter was born here, and I could direct her, and I felt like fine with that, but I was not comfortable to be in front of camera. And then like, I can't do it. I can't build my business around my kids being on the camera. And then I made my first video talking about shingles. It's insane. And then fast forward, I mean, if you look in the last 3-4 years, what I've done, like the English goes like that, because English is listening, talking, reading, writing. It gets better and better. So anyway, not about me. Let's get back to you, man. You invited Jordan Belfort at your conference. Why did you pick him?
He knocked doors.
He knocked doors.
He was a meat sales guy. We tried to find people that really could relate to our audience. We had Ed Milet last year. He knocked doors doing financial services. We have David Goggins and John Maxwell, and you listen to a lot of the John Maxwell books. He talks about just the grind. We have, like for us, we want to find people that can resonate with our crowd and say, I get the pain of the streets. I get the grind. I get the hard. Like David Goggins, it's like, stay hard, right? So it's like at our event, we really are crafty about who we pick. Hal Elrod's speaking this year. He did Cutco for years, direct sales. It's like he knows the grind of getting referrals, getting his face kicked in, sitting in the home, knowing what it's like to close the deal, like sitting there doing an in-home presentation. And those kind of people really relate well to our audience.
Love it. How much did he cost you?
Belfort? More than a car, less than a house. A lot.
Love it. The best success story from your team before you start consulting. So I know you were a manager at your previous places. The best success story, someone you took under your wing and trained them, and who they are today, maybe you helped them to the next level before you started doing this.
Yeah, there's a lot of people that kind of come to mind. I managed quite a few different sales teams.
Tell me about it.
This guy named Brandon comes to my mind. So he was a kid I served my mission in Argentina with. And we get home from the mission at 21, and I get right into door-to-door. And he's like, screw that. And I was like, you should come do it. And I swear for 4 or 5 years, I tried to recruit him. He was in med school at the time. No, I'm a freak, longer than that. Anyway, so finally, I'd already done alarms, got into solar, and finally I was like, hey, dude, you just got to try it. He's like, I got a 3-week window between semesters. I'll come try it out. I was like, finally, you're going to come do this. A few months later, he drops out of med school. He's like, I'm doing this full time. And he called me. So 2 years, so he started doing solar. He managed under me. He called me 2 years after doing it. He'd made over $500,000. He's like, dude, I don't know. Like, there's no way I would have made this, knocking door or in med school this fast. I would have been debt, like screwed, hating life, another 10 years, and then maybe had a job. Like, he's like, you rescued me from this whole med school life, you know what I mean? And then this was a while back. This was probably 3 years ago. So then he called me maybe like 2, and this is why this one's fresh. It was like 2 weeks ago he called me. He's like, dude, I just want to catch up, see how he's doing. I think last month he made like $175,000. And I'm like, good job, dude. And he's, 29, 27.
He needs Trump CPA
Yeah.
to save on taxes.
He won't pay
now.
a lot on taxes. But it's guys like that you're like, dude, had I not freaking...
What does he sell?
He runs a solar team. He has 70 dudes. And I mean,
see.
yeah, like us, we build like...
Sure.
It's different world than our world.
Share with me now success story after you started this D2D bribe. Like you went on your own and now you're training sales guys. Share a couple.
Lots. There's one that just called us last week. This was a good one. I'm just trying to use recent.
Sure.
So there's a company out of Atlanta, a little roofing company, and they did like 1.5 mil last year. Small little cat, right? And they've been in business for, 15 years, kind of a family, local little Atlanta company. And they hire us and they go on a limb. We weren't cheap. And they had us for about 6 months. And it was like, oh, this was cute. We got them to like do some new things and systematic. We actually had a change in CEO that we helped facilitate, and like a lot of like higher level like managing relationships from passing the baton down to daughter. And anyway, it was just like a lot of emotional, like I felt like I was a counselor more than I was as like a consultant. I'm like, yeah, we got to fire your husband and like weird stuff. So then they're like, hey, we want to keep going with you. And they're like, how about we just, pay you % of growth? And I was like, oh, that'll be fun. So he's like, if we can double...
What's the name of the company?
Christian Brothers.
Okay.
So they do, I was like, if we can get you to 3 million, if we could double you from last year, what's that worth to you? Like, well, quite a bit. I'm like, that's not that hard. I had 2 more dudes that do okay. Like, I'm like, we can do this. Well, they called me in the month of September. They did $600,000 alone in 1 month. And I'm like, there we go. So it's just fun to see some of these companies go, from 15 years just hitting a cap. Like they just did repairs and they got calls every once in a while. Whoever drives by their office, I don't know. And all of a sudden they do $600,000 and they have a D2D team and they've got sales dudes we've been sending them and they've been training. They've got our platform. So it's like fun to watch companies that should have been out of business. After looking at their books, you're just like, and how do you guys make money? Like these are all negative numbers. Like where is the money going, right? To where now they're sitting there going, wow, they increased profits from the 600,000. What's even more impressive on this, when I found them, their average profit margin was 24%. Like, why are you charging so little? We can't sell it more. It's Georgia. Like people are cheap here. And I was like, BS, dude. I had to like change getting one of their sales guys to believe they could like sell it for a 40-something% margin was like pulling teeth. And then all of a sudden we say like, just try it on. Do it once. Now their average margin was 42% on that 600,000. So I mean, not only did they sell way more, they sold at a way better margin. So they're actually making money. So like stuff like that. I mean, we've helped companies that do 200 million in revenue down to the little 1.5 million. So I mean, that's just the first story that came to my mind, but lots of them.
Off topic. Why did you cut your hair?
I know, our last podcast. My flowy locks. I'm thinking about growing it back. I just grew a beard for the first time. This is the new Sam. It's a different look. No, after the first year Door to Door Con, my dad said something that hit me hard, and I couldn't deny it. He goes, "Would you tell all of the D2D reps to have long hair like that and go knock?" Fair. I could do it. I could pull it off because I was that good of a sales rep to where it was something I could overcome so easily because I'm so good with people. But if you're a struggling rep that's not amazing at sales, you need everything you can get. And looks is a thing. So, put your best foot forward. So he's like, don't you want to be an example for the tribe that you're over? And I was like, touche, Dad. Fair.
Okay.
So I had to kind of...
Can you describe the difference between door-to-door appointments and sales versus running appointments, like company leads?
Oh, massive. That's like an obvious. So I'm going to use this example. I'm in, and I'm going to use solar. I could use roofs. I have multiple. I'm going to use it. My very first client that ever hired me. I wasn't even like up for hire, and they just were like, we need you to come to Virginia and consult us. I was still VP at a solar company. And they're like, had heard about me and blah, blah. And they're like, can you just come train us? It's not competing. So I show up to their office and I saw what they were charging. And they were charging like, I'm going to use roofing numbers, $300 a square.
Sure.
I was like, why are you charging so little? Like, Like, what do you mean? That's just like what everybody charges here in Virginia. I was like, oh, really? Like, like, oh.
Not in Virginia.
Yeah, I was like, what? Like, and I was like, what do you, no. And I was like, well, it's just competitive, you know? I was like, no, you're in a fresh market. Not many people do this here. Like, you're in a very, 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 very unsaturated market. I don't know why you're charging so little. And they're like, well, we don't think you can sell it for higher. It's like, you don't think so? So I went out and I sold it for like $450 a square, like way more, right? And like I said at the beginning, I'm like, I'm not just a talker, teacher. I'm not a, you know, if it can't do, teach. No, I will do, heck, Graham can attest, like we went and knocked. Like, and so I go out, first door I knock, same day close, sold it for like the $450, and they're like, what? I was like, you want to see it again? Next door, did it again. It's like, man, the chances I was 2 for 2 was like amazing. So it's not every day that happens, but it's just like one of those like, yeah, you know, I'm just that good. Like, it's like happen to get 2 lucky homeowners. But the point was, they saw it sold for literally, you know, 50% more, or whatever that is. And it was not until then that they wrapped their head around.
So you're telling me that you can sell more door to door versus retail?
Yeah, because, well, this is why it was hard for them. They couldn't wrap their head around it because I said, who did they bid me against? Like, well, no one. I said, yeah. How many people did they shop me with? Like, there was none. If I'm calling an online home advisor lead, how many times had that thing been recycled? Yeah, if I'm a smart home shopper, do you think I'm just like Googling that one? I'm not calling any others because that's the one. Like, no. It's either you got referred by a friend, which might be a better lead, or you just called off an ad or like a weird Google listing, whatever. And guess what? You're in a bidding war now. I knock your door. You weren't even thinking about it.
You're a commodity.
You were not thinking.
But you have to be perfect now. You have to be excellent. You have to be better than your competition.
I don't think people are going to hate me for saying this. If I'm in a market, I hope it never storms. Sure. I hope it storms once and then never storms again. I would way rather go knock every day, storm, sunshine, rain, cold, hot, whatever, and have a team that just does it consistently. Because who are they shopping me with? They're not thinking about a roof until I create a problem. I hop up there. They weren't even didn't even know.
Sure.
I'd way rather go after that, charge what I choose, than wait for 70 other roofers to go compete with me.
How many industries you're helping right now? I know you're in roofing, solar.
We have probably like 15 industries, but 5 main ones, which would be pest, solar, alarm, roofing, satellite, are kind of the main.
What are your favorite? What have the most potential untapped? Like, what's the best? What's the goal there? If I'm 21-year-old kid, come to you like, Sam, give me advice. You know, who to work for? What would you say?
It's a hard question, and it's a loaded question.
Political answer.
Yeah, because
it's election year.
Yeah, if you want me to get like real, and it depends how public this goes. I say solar roofing, but I think that 21-year-old kid that just wants to do a summer and wants to go to college, pest control and alarms is a really good option. I have window clients, I have sanitation companies, I have lawn care companies, I have energy companies, I have all sorts of industries that we help.
What's the easiest to enter?
Like pest control is so easy. You're selling 15 minutes in, out, you're done, you never talk to the customer again, you're on. You know what I mean? Like, so it's kind of like, if you're a new novice salesperson, it's like, and you don't want to have to juggle project managing and adjuster meets and this and that. Like, it's like so easy. You're just like, hey, let's kill the bugs.
With that, how different roofing sales from other sales?
So,
roofing is different. Would you agree?
Oh yeah, it is. It is, and it isn't. Sales is sales. So I was nervous. I get hired that first win the storm. I don't even know if that was the year. Yeah, it was the year I met you, right?
Probably.
So dude hires me to go out to Maryland, right? And I'm like, I've never done roofing. I somehow got picked to speak at a roofing event. Like, I know nothing about this. It's like, I still want you to come. I loved your workshop. You're really good. I was like, okay. So I train all day till 6. And I'm like, guys, I still have never knocked. I mean, this all sounds good, but like until we put it into practice, like who knows if it'll work. Can we go knock? 6 o'clock, I asked the guy, I said, what's your best day? And they're like, 8. I was like, the best day in the company's 8. I was like, okay. Like for an individual,
sales?
for one person.
8 sales? Or
Yeah,
what?
8 sales.
Okay.
That's a pretty good day, right?
I would say so.
So no new storm, Maryland. We're not in like Dallas, like, you know. And I was like, let's go knock. And this is Chris Construction. I don't know if you know those guys. And so we go out. We did 10 contingencies within 2 hours, and they were just like. And I thought, I'm trying to use my solar pitch, my alarm pitch. You know, I'm trying to like weave and create. And after I watched them do it, I was like, this is like my curb painting pitch. This is too easy. And they're like, what? I was like, this is like painting curbs. Hey, we're doing all the neighbors. We're going to hop up on your roof. I'll be back in 10 to show your damage. And I just walk away. And they'd be like, that's it? It's like, I don't know. It seems to be working. They were just like, that was too short. And I was like, no, I'm going to hop up on the roof. So then I get up on the roof and I was like, why am I doing the inspection? I had a team of 15 people behind me. So imagine 15 shadows, like kind of like, oh, let's watch this. And anyway, I was like, you get up and inspect this one. I'm going to go to the neighbor. You get up and inspect this one. I'm going to go to the neighbor. I had like 4 dudes on roofs. Be like, hey, yell at me when it's done. So like we like swarmed this neighborhood. And then I'd be like, yell at me and I'll come back and do the contingency. So I watched a guy do a contingency once. I'm like, wait, that's it? That's all you had to do is call their insurance company and get them to sign saying,
yes, storm is not an insane.
I was like, this is so easy. So then I thought, like, I'm like, wait. Why are people overcomplicating and not making so much money? And then I found out there are people making so much money in roofing. Where in my world, we're in Utah. This is the door-to-door mecca of the world. I want to drive you up and down this freeway and just point $500 million, billion, $500 million company, like 2,000 reps, 1,000 reps, 1,500 reps, 2,000 reps, all 1099, all door knocking.
You don't have phones, TVs here, a radio doesn't work.
No, I'm just saying they're just swarms of D2D behemoth companies. Like the roofing industry would not fathom the size of these companies. Like they just like it wouldn't compute, if that makes sense. And so like when I heard roofing, I'm like, that's a thing? Like roofing? Like people do that? Like I laughed. And then I get into it and I'm like, it's a little secret here. And a lot of Utah people started to get into roofing. Wow. Ever since I've like kind of been promoting it, people are like, oh my gosh, where was this my whole career? I've been selling pest control, making $300 or $100, you know, and they're having to sell thousands. They're knocking 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. when these roofers are going out for 30 minutes and making like, you know, whatever. And anyway, it's been like the door-to-doors kind of watch out roofing people because Utah's getting exposed to it. And once these slayers come.
Well, how's your system, whatever you teach, is different from others? Training systems?
I think we're the only people that actually teach, like, you got to go work. Sorry. It's so dumb, but I think.
There's no secret in the box.
There's no, like, we're not over here trying to teach a magic
top secrets, buy this free book now.
Buy this free book that's going to make you $1 million. For us, we're like, dude, we have a training system that teaches how to sell door-to-door, how to recruit door-to-door sales reps, how to lead those door-to-door teams, how to motivate them, because everybody deals with the same problem. It's like herding cats. Like, it's hard, right? You have these reps that all get demotivated and they're like, I don't want to work today. And you're like, dude, you have the chance to make $500,000 this year and you're making $20,000. You might as well go work at Chick-fil-A, you dick. Like, you know what I mean? Like, that's like the problem is, and then the manager's like, I got a bunch of lazy idiots. And then, no, I'm like, no, it's probably your leadership problem. And so we really work from the top down. And, you know, we hear the same complaints over and over and over again. And I think in the roofing space, for all I know, I'm the only one that's actually come from a very white-collar door-to-door program. Mm-hmm. And I think that there's a lot of blue-collar door-to-door rednecks. No offense. Like, sure. Just from my background in the systems and the programs and the way that we say you need to run this like an effing company, like an organization.
A corporation. It's
a corporation. Instead of what most people think door-to-door is they think, I'm going to hire a bunch of cats, like 19-year-old kids. I'm going to be like, go knock, go make it happen, guys. And I'm going to sit back and all of a sudden deals are going to come in. Like, no, that's not how it works. They're not just random people you can pluck out of like the ether and they're just like naturally amazing and hungry and want to go knock, especially with the younger generation. There's a mathematical, systematical way to get these people motivated to go out and hustle.
So what do you teach? Hard work then? That's your...
I mean, that's like the, no, but
Yeah.
but there's a magic to that. I have a principle called the dopamine ventriloquist, is I need to teach people how to be dopamine ventriloquists. How do you disseminate dopamine into your people to motivate them through different hygiene factors and different ways to get them to actually produce? Okay. And there's some gamification to that. There's some training systems to that. There's some natural cultural implementations. You know, a lot of people talk about, we've got a great culture. I'm like, define it. What did you do to create good culture? And they're like, just, you know, we're like a family. I'm like, if you can't pinpoint, like, yeah, like, what is that? Like, I think it's such an overused word. And so I'm like, you can be strategic about how you create movement.
Define culture D2D.
So for us, culture means when you've created an environment to where people naturally, through free energy, do what they're supposed to do without you asking. That's the definition of culture. Sure. Is when the mission, the value system, the belief system, the energy, the competitiveness, and the systems create the free energy so that your people just do it. You're not dragging them with a rope being like, come on! Does that make sense?
Yes.
That's culture.
How many objections are out there? 30, 40, 100?
7.
7 objections. Name them.
Not interested. Don't have money. Need to talk to my spouse. Got to come back later to do you have a card. Have another roofer, competitor. And maybe just 6. Yeah, don't qualify. Like, it's like, but that's a money thing. Maybe it's 6. But they're all going to be a variation of those 6. Like if I teach you, like, it's funny, I started a show, I never launched it, but I called it Will It Sell? And I decided to go sell bounce houses. I sold like alien protection. I sold like random stuff door to door. Same 6 objections. Oh, I already have a bounce house guy. I was like, what? It's like not expecting that. Like I was like, I've heard this one before in roofs and in solar. You know what I mean? I was like, you already have a bounce house guy? Like, really? That's a thing? Like, I'm on Google searching bounce houses, and I'm just like on Google Images. I'm like, yeah, this one's blue and green. It's really good. It's got an obstacle course. Like, I couldn't have sold them if I wanted to, but like, at the end of the day, like, it was interesting because it came to my attention. I mean, I've sold no soliciting signs door to door. Same things. Oh, I need to talk to my spouse. I'm like, it's $15. Like, you have a sticker that's like peeled off from an old no soliciting sign that fell off, and they wouldn't be opposed to us like putting this over the hole on the door. Like, and they're like, I just can't afford it. Like, it's $15. Like, oh, you got to come back later. You know, now's not a good time. I'm like, it's a no soliciting sign. I'm like, damn it. It's the same 6 objections.
And you teach how to overcome all. Perfect. How many of your clients are selling financing right now? Like in the car world, I think it's like 85%. I think in the roofing world, it's like 1%.
Solar, that's all it is.
So
all we are selling loans.
So do you teach how to sell financing? Like,
yes.
What's your pitch? Do you focus on financing or just retail?
Yes. Trust me, the roofing industry is a little behind. Alarm space.
I know, that's why I asked.
No, alarm space. We used to sell $49, $69, $79 a month, and then they get free equipment. Well, guess what? There's a huge thing where they shifted to where they do consumer finance, where now you're selling them $2,000 worth of equipment financed over 5 years and a little monthly service on top of that, and it's all blended into one payment. So like every industry switched to finance. Roofers are just scared of it. I mean, maybe because they got so spoiled with the whole deductible thing. I don't know. But I'm going, you provide value, you create a problem, you solve the problem, and then you ask for the order. Like, I don't like think the car business, every other business, it's like, here's the monthly payment. Can you afford it or can you not? You know what I mean? I'm shocked at how many people just, insurance didn't cover it. It's like, okay. I sold roofs, made no money accidentally while doing solar, if that makes sense.
Yes.
So about 50 of the homes my last year there needed a new roof that I sold personally. So then I'd be like, darn it, they don't qualify for the solar because I have to get a new roof. So I have to go back to the homeowner and be like, hey, it's $12,000. We got to get you a new roof. We'll wrap that into the finance. No big deal. I didn't make a dime on like 50 of these things because I'm thinking, this is literally an impediment to get them solar, which is what I'm trying to sell them. It was like the cockroach I had to like step on to like move in. Now knowing what I know, like I had no idea that was even an industry. I just thought that was like, oh, I just gotta like fix some pipes, you know, kind of like just in the way. And all of them would be like, oh, okay, yeah, okay, that makes sense. Yeah, we knew our roof was kind of old, might as well do it now.
Love it. Is there such a thing as a personality to, does anyone has a personality of a door knocker, or anyone can do it?
Not if you're a pussy, like, sorry. I mean, that's the thing. Like, I don't think it's a personality. And that's what I want to get at. Like, I don't mean to be a dick, but like personality is different than do I actually have balls? Does that make sense? Like, and I think girls.
Well, some people just say like, you know, I don't like, you know, I can't call people. I cannot.
That's a mindset. That's just weak. That's like you can. That's called like a victim mentality. If anybody's sitting there saying, so I can't. Could you run a marathon?
Yeah.
You could.
Yeah.
If you said I can't run a marathon, me and Graham would be like, no, you just start running and training and then you run the marathon. Like, but you have created a belief system your whole life maybe that you can't.
Can you be in the Olympic Games?
I could. I haven't trained or haven't, like, you know what I mean? I could. And I think too many people get in a mindset of I can't. But I think personality types, I've seen the most goober nerd crushing, quiet weirdo crushing, to the jock of jocks, to the weird outgoing, to the, I've seen every type of bad A, top performer.
Anyone can do it.
And I'm like, it comes down to, do you have a consistent work ethic and discipline? Are you willing to be a student of the game? Are you willing to practice and understand people? Like, there's a grit factor. And I just think some people, they believe they don't have the grit factor.
So if you're looking to hire sales guys right now, and I come to you, and what's your recruiting system? You tell everyone like, hey,
first off, don't hire him. Dimitri would not be a great, no, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. I wouldn't have ever hired, no, I'm kidding.
I would never knock doors. Like, I hate it. Like,
let's go out, dude. We can go sling some today.
No, I think I can do it. But
Graham's over, he's like, I'm in. We'll pick something. We'll sell no soliciting signs or something. I'm just kidding. Get you out the streets.
But you know what I mean? If you're, so when people come for an interview, what do you look for? Like, you know, does he has a personality, or like, can I motivate him, or like, what are you looking at? So anybody can work for you?
Here's the word choice I like to use. You want to reverse psychology this.
Okay.
Most people when they're interviewing, and listen up, this is a good nugget. Most people when they're interviewing, they're like, please come work for me. I'll take anybody that will knock doors. If you're willing to knock, I will hire you.
Sure.
Versus the HR hat, which would look like this. The problem in our space is people make way too much money per sale. And so what happens is they're supposed to work 40 hours a week like any other job and actually be in the streets that long.
Sure.
But what will happen is you'll get 1 or 2 sales and you'll make as much money as you would have at any other job by just 1 or 2 sales. And so then you'll choose not to work and you'll just get lazy because you're happy with 1 or 2 sales because you made as much money as your previous job. And so that's a huge problem in our industry. And so guys, you know, they just stop working and they'll just stop like hustling. And so I don't know if you'd be a good fit. Are you somebody like, if you just got like 1 or 2 and made like 10 grand in like a day or 2 or 3, would you just like stop working the rest of the month? Or
I mean, I'm on a different story, but I don't stop.
You wouldn't stop?
I wouldn't stop.
No, because that's a huge problem we run into this industry. Because that's like what we really don't want to hire anybody that would have the mindset of just like really just stopping at maybe 7-8 grand a month by just getting 1 or 2 and doing like literally working like 2 or 3 days and then just like puttering out. So see what I'm doing now?
Yep.
Is I'm changing it to make sure like the income becomes the problem because we get paid too much. So be like, yeah, they just pay way too much. And that's been a huge problem because we just drive complacency. So we just can't hire anybody that's going to get complacent. So what happens is I have to frame an interview and switch the roles, where I think most interviewers that actually are actually selling them out of the job versus convincing them into the job through reverse psychology in this. And then I'd have to sit there and test your work ethic. Like, and there's no way to do that until I get you out in the field. There's people, if I asked any individual and I said a scale of 1 to 10, and trust me, I've done this a lot. Scale of 1 to 10, where would you rate yourself on work ethic?
Always 10, right?
They're either going to say 8, 9, or 10. Do you think anybody looks you in the eye and they're like, I'm a solid 1? I'm just going to be honest. Me and Fortnite, we go hand in hand, and I would love to not work all my life. No, every person in an interview is going to sell you on why they're an 8, 9, or 10. Am I right or am I right?
So you take them on the field and what you see, like how many doors they knock?
Within 13 days, I can determine whether they're going to make it or not make it. Because I've done the studies, I know the numbers they need to hit, I see their efforts, and I can determine in those first 13 days.
How many fail?
Depends on your system. For most people,
for you,
for me, it's usually like half.
50%.
Where most people I'm starting to consult and see and study and run these numbers, I mean, we have a whole recruiting department. The problem is if they don't have a system for success, then it's going to be 90% effing fail. And it's just an embarrassment to our industry. That's what we try to fix here at Door to Door. Is we don't want people hiring unresponsibly, putting them into a bad system, and then setting people up to fail. And I'm like, well, that's your problem. So people don't spend the money, time, and energy investing in the right system to create success.
Interesting. Do women have advantage in door-to-door sales?
My podcast is coming out this week or next week. Top 1%, just slayer. Like, she is bad. Like 100%, I think more women need to do this.
Sure.
And, you know, some people are like, is it safe? I mean, this chick's like 5 foot nothing. She's like 100 pounds, beautiful, like the most beautiful person you'd see in your life kind of person. And I asked her that question. So I'd go check out that podcast episode if you're a female listening to this.
Sure. And
she gives some good advice. I mean, I have like on stage for Golden Doors at Door to Door Con, we have had many female top performers.
I interview a lot too.
And
they're killers.
They are amazing at this.
Guards are low. People just like, here's my checkbook.
They can sell so many more people in my books than I think a dude would sell.
Sure.
So I just think the problem is, as we've misogynistified this, that's a word, just look it up. We've made this so macho, this industry, that we've repulsed a little bit of the feminine energy, when I think we need to accept it a lot more. I think we need to actually like receive that.
I talk to a lot of girls and they're like, no, it's not easy for girls. I'm like, are you kidding me? Like, you know, blondes, like beautiful girls. And they're like, no, it's hard. You don't understand.
So there's some downside. Dudes, like, to an attractive women, might struggle, and this is just facts, struggle respecting, like, you're going to teach me about my roof? Like, you see what I mean?
Yes.
So, and I've talked to a lot of female reps about this. So there's that element that might be a little harder for them.
So there's different training.
There's different training. There's an emotional element that a lot of females tend to have a little bit more emotional attachment to the rejection, or some of the thicker skin they might need to develop, and the anxiety that they might need to. Like this female that I interviewed, she literally throws up every single data area. And I was like, pfft. She's top performer, top 1% in the industry. I'm like, you still throw up 5 years into this every day. Wow. She's like, yeah, without fail. It's like clockwork because of anxiety.
Wow.
So it's not that like, and this would be really good for any female to listen to. It's D2D podcast. It's coming out. I mean, maybe it's already out.
We'll put it in the links in description below. I'll make sure when it comes out, by the time this video is out, the video will be there.
It'll probably be live by the time this one comes out. But it's interesting to interview people like that because sometimes you don't see that. She doesn't like broadcast like, hey everybody, I'm throwing up again. Like that's an embarrassing, like kind of private thing, right?
Sure.
But I think that she has come up with a hack to say, despite the anxiety, once I get in my rhythm on the doors, it's therapeutic is what she used. And I was like, that's cool. And I believe the doors could be very therapeutic. I think you get in a rhythm, you start to meet cool people, you start to make friends. I think
hard work is therapeutic.
It's why do we like to go to the gym? I went on a 30-mile bike ride yesterday, and at the end I was like, that was awesome. Like it was, but you're telling me you're gonna go bike up a mountain? Like that's supposed to be fun?
Yeah.
But it was therapeutic. It was There was an emotional endorphin that was created through doing something hard, and that's a fact.
100%. I think hard work fixes everything. Absolutely everything. How to motivate millennials? You touched on it earlier. We have new generation that wants to get paid more, work less, set up the expectation, like whether it's hourly rate or whatever. And a lot of older generation, they struggle to understand that, to understand the motives. How do you motivate a person who tells you that he's not money driven, he does not care about overtime, he does not care about 5-day work week, he wants to work 4 days? What do you do?
You cater to that.
How?
And it's sad because you look at like the baby boomers, and they looked at their parents and they were like, they were all in survival mode. Then you look at the Gen X, they were looking at the baby boomers and they were in like workhorse mode. Then you look at us, the millennials, and we were looking at the Gen X, and we go, I don't know what you are, I'm a millennial. And
I'm a
I look,
millennial.
so I
But
look at, I look at the Gen X and we go, man, they worked their asses off. They have a vacation home wherever. They made good money, but none of them are happy. And so then you look at the millennials and they're just like, we're just trying to find happiness. And then you look at like the Gen Z and Gen X or Gen Y, and you go, they're after impact. They're saying, how do we change the world? How do we disrupt and invent something that's going to like create world peace and, you know, clean energy and whatever, right? And so you kind of say, okay,
stop the global warming.
yeah. And so you look and you say, okay, how do I make my company more impactful than it is just money driven? Or maybe you're in Gen X and all it is about developing wealth because you saw your parents poor. Or maybe you look at your, you know, like what are you going after and how do you cater a culture to deliver on those things? Whether it's every quarter we go on a dope trip because millennials want to go on trips, or Gen Z, you know what I mean? Or we do cool charity impact moments, or we do really cool like social influencer type incentives and stories, like this kind of stuff. Like millennials love like the how many likes did I get, the TikToks of the world. Like how do you develop into a culture where they still get rewarded on all their kind of fixes, but it still encompasses hard work? And so they do want to work. If you think about it, we've actually looked at this backwards. I spoke at this at D2D Con. We are looking at this younger generation as lazy, right? We're like, we can't even get them to work, right? The problem is our job fits perfectly with what they're asking for. The young generation doesn't want to go work the 9 to 5. They all want to be self-entrepreneurs. They all want to travel. They want to have time for freedom. They want to explore. And you're like, they make tons of money quick. They have lots of vacation time because half the roofers hibernate half the year. You know what I mean? And you're just like, and they can kind of be their own 1099 boss. They can, you know, XYZ all checks the boxes, except we don't know how to broadcast that effectively to them.
So it's our problem, like setting up expectations, picturing their future, essential, our lifestyle.
Giving them a roadmap to say, you can live that lifestyle you're trying to live, and it's here. But you've got to do the work when you are here so that you can have the freedom to do the things that you want to do.
How often do you go personally with the employees versus it's just all numbers game? Recently, I have a big debate. I have a class last week in Cleveland, and I'm a big believer in psychology as far as like helping, you know, like one of the things I want to do at Roofing Insights, we have online school, and I actually want to hire like a therapist because we have epidemic of business owners who are, you know, literally suicidal.
I'm bringing one on right now.
So, and that's what I want to do.
Yeah.
And I would like hotline because I don't want, you know, I talk to so many guys. I'm like, I can't take the burden anymore. I'm like, I'm literally hiring person. So you can call them hotline. Like, you know, I have marital problems. I have like, whatever it is, like talk to him. And I have this guy, he's like, bullshit. Are you kidding me? Talking about their personal, this is freaking work. And he started arguing with me in front of the entire class. And we have like, I mean, like I respect the heck out of it. He respects me, but he's like, no, this is work. We don't talk it about personal. Leave it at the door. I don't care about your marital problems. You don't get to talk here. I'm like, dude, like what? Like they might not have a person in their life to talk about this. I feel like our places have to have. I remember in college we have psychologists, and I have huge problem with my parents. Like it was huge. Like, so I came to her and I opened up because there's no teacher, there's no best friend who could help me. It freaking saved my life when I was like 18. You know, like abuse, wherever like I was going through, right? Help me. I'm like, you know what? I want to be that person in someone's life. And that's why today, if you follow even our content,
That's awesome.
I talk to roofers, and I mean, we cry. I have people crying at the interview about their, problems. I have guys talking about suicidal thoughts and stuff, because no matter how much money you make, you have to fix that. What's your take on personal versus numbers game? Because door knocking is all numbers game. Let's face it.
I'm not in the solar business. I'm not in the roofing business. I'm not in the pest control business. I'm not in
People's business.
I'm in the people development business.
Okay.
These are all just widgets. Like if I look, and this is where I think too many people, they're like, I'm a roofer, and they make their identity so much around roofing that they struggle they just struggle that they ever get a team beneath them. How did I have 100+ people selling for me? Was because I wasn't in the solar, I wasn't in the alarm business, I wasn't in the, you know what I mean? I was in the people development business. So I get a phone call from Brandon saying, I just made $100 and something thousand this month. Like changed his life. Whether it was solar, roofs, pest, alarm, whatever he was selling like that, I don't care. I just care about that phone call saying I literally changed the trajectory of the future legacy of his eternity, like forever financially. And if I don't have that motive of I'm here to serve my people, then they'll probably leave you to somebody else that's going to serve you.
So how often do you go on that personal talk maybe? Or what do you do now?
So
let's say, like for example, I have a guy right now working for me, and he took 2 days off. I'm like, so I come to him like, what's going on? He was a top producer, sold his house. So I'm like, okay, he's sitting on a whole bunch of cash, maybe not driven anymore, maybe not hungry anymore. And I see he's down, literally down. And I'm like, I need a book. I need to read about this problem, because right now I don't know what to tell him. He is a killer, great guy. There's no issues. But I don't know what's going on. I don't know how to motivate. So how often do you do that one-on-one?
So I say at least once a month, if not twice a month. You do what's called a status interview.
Okay.
And so a status interview is you're checking in on them. And it comes from a guy, Clint Pulver, that spoke at D2D Con last year. It was really cool. I liked this concept, so I started implementing. And basically, if you pull a guy in and say, hey, I want to meet with you, just randomly, immediately his red flag goes off. He's like, am I in trouble? Am I getting fired? Did I do something? Like, this guy's obviously underproducing, and all of a sudden now you reach out and you say, hey, I want to help you, or it's like, well, where was I? You've already messed up. But if you have a frequent, on a consistent basis, status interview, whether it's good or bad, that they have a safe place to open up to you, and you talk about life, and you talk about how they're doing, their goals, their roadmap, their vision, XYZ, that's going to create a framework for them to be in a safe place. And it's something I try to implement with companies. It's something we do. I have my team doing status interviews. I don't do them with everybody on our team just because I have a department head that will do those. Sure. But I put an outline for him, and I said, Riley, this is how I want you to run these status interviews, and I want you to do those with each of the employees. And it's just a best practice. And the other thing is I like to do personal development stuff. Like I'm taking this weekend, I have this retreat where there's 100 of all these people coming in from all over the state. 8 of my team members are coming just to be part of it so that they could develop. I took 6 people to Idaho at my mastermind event 2 weeks ago, where they got, or 3 weeks ago, 4 weeks ago, where they all got to sit there and watch, speakers train on influence and personal development systems. And they all came home with a bunch of notes, and they're like, that was awesome. I send them to different conferences, and I invest in coaching and courses and things like that for them. And I think that that's part of one of our core values is experience. And I want them to be the most experienced, and I want them to have the greatest experience here. And I don't have people quit. I have to fire people.
Love it. What's the earning potential for door-to-door sales rep in different industries that you see now, yearly?
So it varies.
Sure.
So you have the top reps that make 7 figures as a sales rep.
$1 million plus?
Yep. And then...
in what industry?
I've seen that in pest. Nope. Take that back. Solar and roofing, I've seen that. Pest, I've seen...
And it's
alarms,
commission paid
to their name.
Love it.
The guys that make the most money, though, are guys that know how to recruit teams.
Sure,
so it's like
people under that.
Yeah, you use leverage.
Sure.
I didn't make what I made just selling. I made a lot of money selling but I made even more money when I had
And you have like team of 20, 30,
30, 50. Yeah, like you have dudes and making an override cut on that. So in my opinion, you hit a maximum velocity. Like I coach the number one solar rep in the country, and he'll make probably like 1.5 mil, and he's 58. You know, he knocks doors, he goes and cranks every year, and I'm like, that's cool and all, but how long are you gonna keep doing that? Like, what if you could get 100 people to do what you did? Like, that's why I hired you. Like, I can't teach you to sell more.
Sure.
If you already like hit, like you're doing twice as many as like really good guys do. You know what I mean?
Sure.
But it's like, I could teach you how to go get other people and get them trained and get them selling more at the same time that you're selling. It's like, oh, I get it. But it's just until you have that paradigm, you won't make real man money, in my opinion.
What's your take on tattoos for the sales reps? Would you cover them? Would you let them be?
I would cover them.
You would cover them.
Especially if in an affluent neighborhood. If you're in the hood or if you're in a little bit more middle lower, I think you're fine. But I think if you're in a nice neighborhood, I would cover him.
What about Graham here? Would you cover his tattoos?
He's just good looking though. He could probably get away with it. Your
Tattoos.
I think the best, you just best foot forward. You know what I mean? Be clean shaven, be clean cut, like smell good, look good.
But you have, and that's my next question. What about smells? Do you have recommendations for perfume?
I actually don't wear deodorant. Is that weird? I don't tell that to a lot of people.
So
I don't sweat, dude. I don't smell. I don't have a scent.
Long hair, no perfume, says smell good,
Look good.
clean cut.
Some dudes just come up. Yeah, this is the first time I had facial hair. I think facial hair is okay as long as it doesn't look like you're like straight out of like.
What about mine?
You look great. Like that's fine.
Okay.
You don't like scare me. You don't come off as like. But I think some people, if they showed up and they're just like scraggly and it looks like they just literally have come out of like a park bench, and then it's like you got problems.
Number one mistake that door-to-door sales reps do.
Don't work the hours.
Don't work the hours.
They don't give themselves enough time to actually like get a result. You know, I had a guy call me on Saturday. He's like, dude, I just can't seem to figure this out, man. I'm like, you got out at, he's like, yeah, I was out there. I got out around 10:30, and then I knocked to about like 1:30. So I'm like, so what you're telling me is you got out at 11 and you stopped at 12:30?
So like 3 hours.
And I was like, so what about the rest of the day, dude? And he was like, and I was like, okay, then don't call me complaining when you worked a total of a couple hours, man. Like that you just didn't have enough data to actually make any kind of like pissed off decision here. What you should be pissed is your work ethic.
Love it. So put the hours.
Put the hours in.
Got it. Number one thing that most successful door-to-door sales reps have in common. Like the guys who sell million plus, something just probably work ethic, but
yeah, I would say consistency. I would think they're the guys that do really well and have longevity in this industry. It's like clockwork. They get out of bed, they tie their shoes, the alarm goes off, it's 10 o'clock, they know where they should be, they're already on the streets, they don't stop till 9. Like, you know, they're not taking early breaks, they're not leaving to go to like whatever, and they're just consistent. Like, you know, they go out that day, they're getting X amount of deals, depending on the industry, right? And it's like, they're not like, yeah, look at me, I did like 20 today, and then like you don't see them for like a month. It's like, sure. Okay, well, what'd you do today? What'd you do tomorrow? What'd you do the next day? Like, see what I mean?
Recently, I've heard this worst new definition that I learned is shelf life of an employee. Still cannot wrap my head around, but makes sense. You know, like if you think about it, like average employee at McDonald's have a shelf life, I don't know, a year, 2 years. You know, average shelf life of a business on a roofer. You know, we say young guys game, right? Now, you know, when you're 60, you're not supposed to be doing it. It's too hard. What's the shelf life per se of a door knocker? Is it something you can do all your life, or it's, you know, 5 years, 10 years, and then train others?
You asked me this. No, so you asked me this when I was 21. 3 years. Like, I'm not, when I'm 24, 25, there's no way I'm going to be knocking doors. Yeah. You know what I mean? That would have been my answer. I'm like, I do this through school, then I get a real job. I've come to find certain people I have friends knock 20, 30 years. Like they're consistently,
20, 30 years.
yeah, and they're still going. Like this is their job. This is their career. So is there an average shelf life? Yeah.
What would that be?
I bet you 7 to 8 years. Guys are kind of like, hey.
You want to retire?
And there's one of two things that happens. If you don't know how to go build a team at that point, you're going to fizzle out. Like there's going to be some guys they're just built weird. They'll go 20 years as solo lone wolf knockers, and that's just like they're built that way, and it's like weird. So there's the outlier. Most guys between 5 to 8 years, if they haven't started to develop their own team, they haven't started to make overrides on people and leverage people, they haven't built their own company, like whatever that looks like, you'll start to see them being like, man, this just gets heavy. And then it weighs on them. But I think it's way longer if you can start to use the power of developing others, because if you get more people what they want, in turn you get what you want.
Love it. How important is the product?
It's really important.
Is it?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's one of the reasons, this is only to roofers, right? But I think that's one of the reasons I got out of alarms, it was just like...
You didn't believe in the product?
Yeah, I mean, I have an alarm in my house just because somebody gave it to me for free and I've never turned it on. I don't even know the code. I like the automation stuff. But It's like, great, I'll go to Best Buy. Like, you know what I mean? Every time somebody be like, why would I spend $80 a month for this? I'm like, I wouldn't either.
You have to believe.
But I was one of the best damn alarm reps in the country, right? So it was really kind of a misalignment. And I felt like I got to a point where it's hard for me to like get real passionate and feel really good at night.
How important is icebreaker? A lot of sales coaches teach, get personal, get to know them. You know.
I think it comes into your sales style.
Okay.
I know some guys that are pretty like military-like they're just like, don't want to waste your time. Let's get to business. Like just boom.
The moment you knock at their doors, they know why you're there.
Yeah,
you're there to sell.
I have seen every type of door approach, and I've seen some people do very, very well at just being the bull and just go. I don't need to give you some like fancy.
What's your style? Do you
my
have
style? I'm definitely a lot more jokey. I'm definitely a lot more, but I don't want to come off as like inauthentic. I think some people, they make up the dumbest icebreakers. My icebreaker usually is catered to something I see within sight, like that's not used on the neighbor. It's not going to be used on that neighbor. I'm pretty witty when it comes to like, how do I make a joke that has to do with anything? Like I'll pick up something quick that's relevant to them right then and there. And, but I like making it more of a game. I think the doors is just like some big game.
Sure. What's the guy's name? Kenny Brooks or Kenny Green?
Yeah, that's Kenny Brooks. Like,
Kenny Brooks. What advice would you give to Kenny Brooks? What holes in his games you see? Like when you watch his videos on YouTube, you're like, don't do it. That's a mistake.
No, he's got a lot of good lines.
Sure.
I've actually used a lot of his lines. He came to Door Con last year and did like a little skit. And
he's fun.
The problem is he couldn't sell anything more than those washers.
Okay. Why do you think is that?
Because he's tried. I've watched him try other products
Really?
and this and that. So
he just mastered that?
He's mastered those few jokes that work in those few scenarios, and I'm sure he could create other jokes. But the problem is if you go close a $30,000 roof, they don't buy on a joke. They don't buy off of sympathy. They're like, I need to feed you for, charity because you're going to go into the hood. Like, does that make sense? Like, They're paying for $30,000 of stuff.
Yes.
And it's different.
So you think he would not be real good at the roofing side?
He's tried other things. I think he's found his niche. But I
What's
think
he doing now?
Well, he still does the water or window stuff. Like,
Really?
he does a lot of media stuff, but, like, that's all he's been able to master. He created his own window cleaner. Yeah. Anyway, I think, though, if he applied himself, I think the problem is he learned his lines, he memorized those lines, and he kept using those to his advantage. But I think if he said, how can I make this more applicable to a wider range of services that could actually retain value in the sales process? Because like, where in there is he asking and letting customers really think and challenging and going through like a pre-frame and a discovery phase? Like, doesn't have to do that when it's just like, dude, it's cleaner. It's $20. Here you go.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Yes.
But super good dude, like super good at what he does.
I love him. Just wanted to hear your feedback on him. Pitching the homeowner one leg appointment or always wait for a reset for 2 legs?
Well, in roofs, it's like I'm going to file the contingency and get the claim going with one.
I mean, but we do. I'm a retail business, so
retail.
My audience is a lot of retail guys.
So retail,
or any business, any sale for you, is it
I am good. So security, I could close one-leggers. I got really good at that. Here's what's different. What makes the difference between like a 3-account a day guy and a 5-account kind of guy is their ability to close one-leggers. So if you can close early deals because only one leg is there, that is a huge increase in daily volume.
Sure.
And I got really good at that. With solar, I actually got pretty good at it, but then you also have a cancellation period, right? So it's like you might have to do a second or third touch to ensure, dude doesn't come home and he's like, you just signed up for a $40,000 solar system. It's going to go on my roof. Like, what the fetch? Like, you know what I mean? Like, there's going to be a follow-up process to ensure lower cancellation. Roof, same thing. I would say you can still close somebody. Just know that you're going to have serious follow-up, but only pitch the people you know are decision makers. So before you go in and waste 45 minutes, go in and actually know that they're the one that wears the pants. Don't waste your time pitching the person that doesn't wear the pants.
You mentioned earlier that most of your clients are too cheap, and when you door knock, you can charge more. How important is the price and being the most expensive product or the most expensive estimate, if you will, when you do door-to-doors? Is it eventually going to end up with a higher cancellation rate? Because if you $450 and they start shopping around and call 2 more companies and it's cheaper, so if you know for a fact that you're always the most expensive.
I'm used to being always the most expensive.
Yeah.
And I just know I've got to create that much more value.
How do you do that?
Whether it's your warranties, your product, your services.
What's your average
customer
appointment time?
For like a roof?
Yeah.
Probably like 45 minutes.
45 minutes.
Depends if you're doing how much you're doing on the first touch. Does that make sense? Like if you're doing a pretty in-depth walkthrough before you bring back estimate, then it might shorten down a little bit because you've already done some of the selling. But if you're just doing a pretty quick pitch to set up most of the demo later or presentation, then probably 45 minutes.
Best shoes?
It's been a minute. So on like my shoe game, I used the Nike Freeze before, but I actually, since then I started to run more and I realized I have a pronated foot. And so I need something so I use like an Ultra that actually stops my foot from rotating in, and it's actually helped a ton. So I know it sounds weird, but I get something that actually supports your foot how it should, like get an actual insole, like I have a low arch.
So you walk a lot during neighborhoods and stuff.
Yeah, but I like to ride a scooter or a Segway, so I'm actually not
That's
walking.
very popular. Do you recommend it? Is it like
100%.
icebreaker? Or?
It's an icebreaker, it's quicker, it's more fun.
I have one of those one wheels now.
Yeah, those are sick.
Love that thing. Best app for canvassing?
I'm kind of unbiased.
Sure.
Sales Rabbit, I think, seems to be probably the biggest.
Sure.
But I don't think that it fits everybody. I think Spodio works for a lot of them.
Is it just making you accountable for your time?
Yeah, you have to have something.
You have
having something that's going to track your KPIs, keep your people accountable to hours on doors, and manage like data, those 3 things are going to be very important. And use something. I think Spodio is amazing. I love Trey. I love Zach and those guys over at Sales Rabbit. I work with a lot of those guys. I think they have different pros and cons. Like one's a little bit more project management tool like Spodio, and then one's a little bit more knocker. Some have different integrations. I mean, I think they're both good.
What's your take on working in couples? I know, especially with the girls, with the females, would you recommend working in pairs? Canvasser versus sales rep, or you train just be 2-in-1? Because a lot of guys do that in our businesses. They have canvassing teams setting up appointments. What's your take on it?
It's very hard. I have 5 structures I teach when I consult. You got to pick your poison. They all have a poison. To run an effective canvassing team, how it needs to be done, it's extremely sophisticated and it's harder than people think.
Sure.
So if you don't have the systems and structures and pay and all the leadership in place to run a canvassing team, in my opinion, just go self-gen. Knocking in pairs, it depends. Are you doing it as a crutch because you're just insecure and don't want to knock on your own? Or are you doing it because you're training? Or are you doing it because they need encouragement? I think a lot of people use it as a crutch. Personally, I do way better if I'm knocking by myself. Like I'm way faster. I'm not slowing down and trying to have some side conversation between doors. I'm literally sprinting to next door, scootering to next door, and it's like, it's a race.
Yeah.
And, they want to make money. They got to go knock their own doors. Not making my money. I'm here selling.
Love it. Give one last advice to brand new sales rep who is looking for the company maybe to knock doors for, like advice to the salesperson.
Don't chase the money, chase the culture. Chase like performance. So if I were to interview a company and I'm new, I would say, okay, give me your 5 top sales reps and what they made 1099, not fake, not hypothetical, not like show me dudes actually making it. Because what happens a lot of times, it's like, well, yeah, me in my heyday, but now I'm the CEO. I'm like, okay, show me you've been able to properly train and put a system in place to create producers and keep those producers. That's where I want to hook my wagon. Doesn't matter the pay scale. Doesn't matter just go where people actually produce.
Well, thank you so much, Sam. It was absolute pleasure.